Right, guys, WRX here. Alright, with your awesome keen eyes, can you guys tell there's something missing here? Something missing. What could it be? Alright, for those of you that know, our subframe brace is completely taken out. I will say this, just a word of warning, there's only 4 bolts, I believe, holding the subframe to the car, of which I've removed the rear 2, but I supported the subframe with these jacks. And I made sure that when I was removing the said subframe bolts in the rear, that I wasn't jarring the car around, moving around, and jerking on things. So you just want to make sure when you go to take this out, just loosen all the bolts first. I'd leave the middle 2 in, take those out last, and just kind of slowly work your way from one end to the other. Again, don't jerk the car around. You don't want the subframe to shift on the body, because you could potentially have some cross-threading issues. So when I took this out, I listened, make sure nothing was moving around, and I did re-verify that the holes are all lined up by putting the stock bolts back in there, of which I am not going to use again. And I also say you will have to loosen your exhaust system in order to get that subframe out. I attempted to do it with it installed, but yeah, it's just not going to work. So let's go up and see what we have going on here. As you can tell, I am not a professional YouTuber by any stretch of the imagination. I'm using this little, I don't know what you call these things, like a trivet or whatever. Not a trivet. Yeah, I don't know. I'm using that thing to hold the phone up. But what I want to do, I did not see any videos on YouTube or anywhere comparing the stock subframe brace to the STI subframe brace. So, kind of pan around. You will see that they are absolutely, completely different animals altogether. On the stock one, as you can see, this nice dingy nasty thing here, it's got this extra arm here to tie in to the outsides on both sides. So those little ears are not on the STI for whatever reason. I'm not going to question the engineers at STI because, I think they kind of know what they're doing. So let's just kind of take a look at this on my cabriolet workbench here. As far as the thickness of the metal, with the naked eye, it looks about the same. However, the STI obviously has more in the way of reinforcements in the way that they bent this subframe brace to make it beefier, if you will. And unlike the stock one, let's kind of put it back up there to where it is. As you can see, there is no pivot point as you were right here. And once we get this installed, you will have to torque this down to specified amount of 90 newton meters, or it translates to us Americans as 66 foot-pounds. So once that's installed, we'll get those put in there. And previously, when I did an unboxing video, I said I was also going to replace the subframe bolts, and I will show you exactly why we're going to replace them. So here's what I just took out of the car. This is what your cars come with. If you notice, the shoulder does not go all the way down. However, on the STI bolt, it does go all the way down. So it's a little bit more accurate, I guess, if you will, in that it will keep things a little bit tighter. And it is definitely a bit longer. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to replace both of those bolts. I don't know what more I can show you with regards to this STI brace, but it's definitely... Whoa. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attempt to put this brace in this STI without editing it, so you can see how long it takes, and not to be scared to do this, because I know there's a couple of videos on there on YouTube right now. Kind of, at first when I watched them, I was freaked out. I did not want to replace this subframe brace with this JDM part here, but after getting underneath the car and just going at it, it's really no big deal whatsoever, and I'm going to show you that it's no big deal whatsoever. So let's go ahead and grab our parts. Oh, let me show you what we're working with. So the parts that we're doing right now, subframe brace, the 2 bolts. You also want to make sure that when you go to install these said subframe bolts, that you want to, don't tighten one side all the way and then go for the other one. Just tighten one. Just kind of alternate between the two, just to make sure that this brace gets sucked up evenly. Okay, that's what we're going to do. I do have my torque wrenches all ready to go here. Just got to put the extensions and the sockets on there. So let's go ahead and grab what we need to. Let's get everything kind of staged. Make sure that we orient this subframe brace correctly. So we want the STI pointing to the rear of the car. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on the perch. Oh my goodness, we're already 6 minutes in. Use my finger there. All right. So here's our attempt at doing this. And this subframe brace is a direct replacement part. Okay. So we'll go ahead and get the one side started. Always make sure you start off by tightening by hand. Don't throw your socket on there and your wrench and just start going to town on it, because at least at this point you could tell if you're cross-threading the sucker out of this thing, and you don't want to have issues down the road where you're going to have to retap the car. That does not look like it's fun. That's a good sign. So they start very easy. So because we got all that extra thread on there, it's going to take a little bit more time to get these suckers in there. But I'm happy to say that these are going on no problem. So once we got those started, I'll go ahead and put the middle 2 bolts in, and as would be expected, they line up perfectly to each other. So we're going to go ahead and just snug these up against the car, but we're not going to tighten them. Just allow for just a little bit of play in there. And again, we'll just continue to hand tighten here. No problemo. Yeah, for some reason the passenger side is wanting to go in a wee bit easier than the driver's side. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of snug it up a little bit more. And a lot of it has to do with, since these bolts are a little bit wider, basically there's like no wiggle room between the subframe brace bolt holes and the bolt itself, as compared to if you had the stock one on there. So the entire time you're twisting these, you got that friction, that resistance going on. But no big deal. So I'm pretty confident we didn't cross-thread them, so I'm going to go ahead and just use the ratchet here. Yeah, it was funny today. A little bit of overcast today. And, a little bit of rain here and there, and I wasn't really motivated to get this part done. However, over the weekend I went to the Olympus rally. I saw some pretty awesome Subarus, so that kind of got me motivated to get my butt out here and get working on this car. And just like any project, sometimes you just don't want to do it, but I guarantee you that once you get started, it's like, okay, you're going to do it. Alright, so at this point, it's going in quite easy. Yeah, unfortunately, this STI that I have here, I hardly drive it because it seems like I'm always at work, and this is definitely not something I want to take to work. As I found out quickly with my GLI, I've had, I don't know how many hit and runs out in the parking lot of where I work, so there's no way I want to take this car there. It's making me sick to my stomach if that ever happens. Going to go until I feel a little bit of resistance with this ratchet. Actually, I'm not. I'm going to wait till it gets all snugged up there. Yeah, at some point down the road, I would really love to change out these control arms and the trailing arm as well. But just wanted to add the components that weren't going to break the bank so quickly. Alright, so, okay, that's kind of butted up. So do the other side. Just do it. Okay. Now we'll shift our focus to the middle. Alright. That's it, my friends. So let's take a look to see what we got here.